Welcome to my YouTube channel. Please subscribe my YouTube channel. Terrifying footage shows the moment the plane plunged towards the ground before a huge blast erupted in front of horrified onlookers on Saturday. The crash happened at the West Coast Air Show in Saldana, a town about 70 miles north of Cape Town. Ella Wayne Gowes, the director of West Coast Medical Rescue, said the plane's wreckage was found engulfed in flames within 2 minutes as rescuers rushed to the scene. Heartbroken organizers of the South African aerial display named James O'Connell as the highly skilled pilot who died. In a statement shared on social media, they said, "It is with profound sadness that the organizers of the West Coast Air Show confirm a fatal accident involving James O'Connell. Mr. O'Connell was performing a routine display intended to demonstrate the capabilities of the Impala Mark I, a beloved warbird with deep historical significance for many South Africans. Eyewitness accounts report that the aircraft appeared to be under control during most of the display. However, during one of the final maneuvers, the aircraft experienced a sudden loss of altitude and entered a steep dive before making contact with the ground. Organizers said there was no sign the pilot made any attempt to eject as the plane started to crash land, and no other injuries were reported despite a large crowd gathering for the West Coast Air Show in Saldana. The West Coast Air Show described O'Connell as a decorated, retired officer of the South African Air Force who has over 36 years of flight experience. They added he had logged over 4,000 hours on rotary-wing aircraft and 1,600 hours on fixed-wing aircraft as well. The South African Civil Aviation Authority, SACA, and the South African Air Force's Accident Unit are now investigating the incident, SACA head of communication Sisa Majola told national news site Times Live. There is one confirmed fatality, a pilot on board an Impala aircraft. Further updates will be shared when more information is available, organizers of the show said. It comes less than a week after a plane carrying 17 people tragically crashed into the sea, killing a popular music star. 12 people died after the aircraft struck the Caribbean Sea just minutes after it took off from Roatan Island, Honduras. On Monday, several U.S. nationals, a French citizen, and 2 children were among those killed in the horror air disaster. The sky was painted in hues of deep blue, the kind that only comes on perfect summer afternoons. The crowd, thousands strong, gathered at the annual Sky Masters Air Show, their faces lifted toward the heavens, eager for the heart-pounding aerobatics, the exhilarating stunts, and the breathtaking displays of aviation prowess. Children sat on their parents' shoulders, waving miniature flags, while aviation enthusiasts adjusted their cameras, waiting for the perfect shot. Among the headlining pilots was Captain Nathan Carter, a decorated former fighter pilot turned stunt performer. Known for his daredevil routines and impeccable skill, he was a legend in the airshow circuit. His signature maneuver, the Phoenix Spiral, was a breathtaking display of control, a daring downward spin, pulling up just moments before impact. The audience held their breath every time he performed it, and every time, he defied gravity, soaring back into the sky like a mythical bird reborn from flames. But this time, something was different. The final ascent. Captain Carter's silver and red P-51 Mustang, a beautifully restored World War II-era aircraft, roared to life as he taxied down the runway. The ground crew gave him the thumbs up. He responded with a salute, his trademark smirk flashing through the glass of his cockpit. Then, with a burst of speed, the plane lifted off, cutting a perfect silhouette against the backdrop of the setting sun. Over the loudspeakers, the announcer's voice boomed, hyping up the crowd. "Ladies and gentlemen, prepare for the legendary Phoenix Spiral. The one and only Captain Nathan Carter is about to take you on a ride you'll never forget." The Mustang climbed higher, its engine humming smoothly. Carter's voice crackled through the radio, calm and confident. "Let's give them a show they'll remember." As he reached altitude, he initiated the spiral, tilting the plane into a controlled spin, its nose pointing downward, falling toward the earth at alarming speed. The crowd gasped, eyes locked onto the streak of silver and red slicing through the sky. Then, something went wrong. A descent into disaster. The Mustang shuddered violently. A flicker of smoke trailed from the fuselage. The graceful downward spiral started to wobble, an unnatural, erratic movement that was out of character for Carter's usual precision. Inside the cockpit, warning lights flashed. Carter gritted his teeth, trying to regain control. Come on, baby. Stay with me. The aircraft's control stick locked up for a moment, and then, disaster struck. The nose tipped at an extreme angle, and the plane spun faster, uncontrollably, far beyond the intended maneuver. Smoke billowed from the engine. The ground was rushing up too fast. From below, the audience went from excited cheers to horrified silence. Parents instinctively shielded their children's eyes. The announcer's voice faltered, the usual confident commentary replaced by
uncertainty. Something seems to be, Captain Carter appears to be in distress. Carter fought for control. He toggled the emergency override. No response. His breath was rapid, adrenaline surging as he made a split-second decision. Eject. But the Mustang was an old warbird, its modified ejection system wasn't as modern as a fighter jet's. The mechanism jammed. His hands clawed at the canopy release, but it wouldn't budge. He was trapped. Damn it. Below, the audience could only watch in horror. The plane, a blur of metal and smoke, spiraled uncontrollably, a comet hurtling toward the earth. Then, impact. The Mustang slammed into the ground just beyond the runway, exploding in a fireball that sent shockwaves rippling through the air. A mushroom of flame and black smoke erupted skyward. The crowd screamed. Panic rippled through the spectators. Fire trucks and emergency crews raced toward the crash site, sirens wailing. But even from a distance, it was clear, there was no chance of survival. A hero remembered. The airfield fell into stunned silence. People stood frozen, their faces pale with disbelief. The announcer, his voice trembling, tried to compose himself. Ladies and gentlemen, we regret to inform you that Captain Nathan Carter has perished in the accident. A collective gasp. Some wept openly. Others simply stared at the smoking wreckage, unwilling to believe what they had just witnessed. In the days that followed, tributes poured in. The aviation community mourned a legend lost too soon. Fellow pilots spoke of Carter's unmatched skill, his charisma, his passion for flight. News channels ran footage of his past performances, his fearless loops, breathtaking dives, and that ever-confident grin. Investigations would later reveal that a mechanical failure had caused the crash, a sudden loss of hydraulic control in mid-maneuver. But for those who knew Carter, one truth remained: he died doing what he loved most, flying. At the next year's air show, the skies were eerily quiet during what would have been his time slot. Instead, a formation of fighter jets soared overhead, peeling off in the traditional missing man formation, a tribute to their fallen brother.